It's Susie Moore here. So psyched to be chatting with the amazing Drew. I'm a confidence coach based in New York City, and I also really help a lot of business owners become confidently more visible in the media. So getting their message out there in a far bigger way in places like Oprah Magazine, Forbes, Business Insider, Marie Claire, endless places. I really feel like it's my job to help people get their message out there, really make an impact with their mission, and be really unapologetic about it.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Susie. And she's absolutely amazing at that. Been watching her get featured left and right as a student in her 5 Minutes to Famous group. So it's an absolute pleasure interviewing you, Susie.
Yay!
So my first question, so why did you start an online business and how does your passion still drive your business's growth today?
Well, I initially didn't start with an online business. I started as a coach, coaching one-on-one in real life, in person, which I really enjoyed. But then I knew that, of course, having the internet at my disposal, being alive in this day and age, we're all very lucky. I knew that I could just impact a lot more people with ease. Of course, being able to do it, essentially for free, using the web too, and all the amazing free platforms and tools available. I wanted to really be able to, with the work that I'm doing, reach as many people as possible and impact as many humans as possible. And having an online business just really allows you to do that.
Yes, it certainly does. And I remember in your course, you mentioned how you had first gotten featured on Mind Body Green, without any experience, and how that was, something that basically, opened your eyes up to the idea that this was something that you could do.
That's right. I lost my mind when that happened. I was like, I can't believe it. My husband and I at the time were just checking the comments in the shares like every few seconds. We just could not believe it. And yeah, that was in 2014, and I've been doing it, every month ever since.
Yeah, and it's so cool, especially when your articles get syndicated.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So my second question: at what point did you realize that your business was taking off and that you could really make money from it?
Well, maybe I'm a little unusual, but I thought that my business from day one was taking off. when I had when I had my very first customer, I knew that I had to really believe in myself because the world would respond in kind to me and how I was feeling about my business. So I felt confident when I was beginning, but then also, as I started creating my online programs and then putting out different media features with evergreen links to various funnels, just, being able to have PayPal pings when I come out of the shower, wake up to different PayPal payments for just work that's out in the ether, because the guest posting is always out in circulation. I knew that once I kind of had more and more content out there, that people would just find me organically, and that's a very, very nice feeling because people don't need your time; they want your knowledge. And when you make it available in an easy way, and you have the credibility and authority that media gives you, then I think you can't really help but take off.
Yeah, no, that's so true, and it's amazing how how it legitimizes your business. Whether you think you're an expert or not, as soon as you have that first client or that first customer, suddenly you kind of are under this perception that you are a business owner now, and it's your job to serve that customer. It's so true.
That's right. And can I tell you a little funny story with that?
Go right ahead.
So how when you're running an online business, people in your life don't always understand it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Including parents, like siblings, friends, and so forth. I remember once telling my mum that I think it was 900 people on a webinar, and she was like, "Oh, that's nice, darling. Well done," and she had no clue. But then when I came to visit her and I bought different magazines that had a picture of me and, written by Susie Moore, she lost her mind. She's like, "Oh, so you're real. It's all real."
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's I completely get it. I remember I was at a conference in Florida a couple of months ago. I think I shared this in your group, and
Yeah.
I had gotten featured in an article in Student Loan Hero, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so exciting. And originally it didn't have a link, and eventually we kind of like shamed the staff in a Facebook group to add a link to it. And then I got, word from the editor that, or the writer that, it was going to be syndicated. And then it was like syndicated to MSN and Yahoo Finance. And like the same week I was at that conference and I was telling my friends, I was like, look, I was just got featured in MSN. They're like, what is that? And I was like, oh, come on. Like, you people don't know anything. I was like, this is so exciting.
It's so exciting. I love how you just use the media language. This stuff, I mean, it can sound complicated, but it's not, right? I mean, media is extremely accessible. You just have to learn a few, techniques to get in there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point did you realize that you were living the life you wanted to?
Well, I think that I lived the life that I wanted to, all my life, essentially. But when in my business, I think it's when I just kind of realized that I could schedule my day how I wanted. I didn't have to take on clients that I didn't want to. I was kind of making enough money and doing well enough so I could work on only projects that were meaningful to me. And then, having no alarm. I think that I actually think maybe having no alarm clock was kind of a really big marker of independence and doing it your way.
Are you still a part of the 5 a.m. club?
I've been taking a little bit of a break, but
I've tried so hard. I set my alarm and my body's like, nah, who are you kidding?
I know. I love the 5 a.m. club, and my goal is certainly to get back into it. But at the moment, I'm having a break because I'm leaving New York soon, and I'm enjoying a lot of evenings out.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when you were responding to my emails late, I was thinking, oh, is she like waking up in a few hours?
I know. At the moment, I'm a bit more of the 8 a.m. club.
Yes. So one of the biggest fears of outsourcing is trusting the people you hire to run your business the way you would. How did you overcome this, and where did you find the right freelancers, employees to help you grow your business?
Great question. Well, I think that you have to trust who works for you, right? It's a decision that you make. You have to trust them. If you're paying them, if you're giving them all this information about your business, you have to trust them. I think it's just really more a mental block than anything else. And you have to remember that no one gets far alone, right? There's this old saying, if you want to go fast, if you want to go far, go together. If you want to arrive quickly, go alone. So if you're building anything of any substance, it's really up to you to drive your business and to be, at the forefront of new ideas, new projects, not, collecting payments and responding to social media comments and so forth. There are other people who can do that better than you. You're not going to be good at everything. I have, a great assistant. I have all sorts of different contractors, and they're so much better than me at so many things. So why would I tire myself out doing things that wouldn't work? But also, when it comes to finding the right people, I think it's great to find them through connections, right? So for example, we use a specific software called Entreport. I find people through that group, through a Facebook group who are Entreport certified. I love to just ask friends, and because people often refer great people to each other. Quality attracts quality. But I'm open, and I know that to be a very successful business owner, you have to trust, you have to delegate a lot. Sarah Blakely said that the best thing she ever did in her business, she's the founder of Spanx. She's the first self-made female billionaire in America. She said that the best thing she ever did was hire out her weaknesses, right? That's 80% of the things, right? That's 80% of it. So, and one time somebody said to me, imagine if you're on a plane and then the pilot comes out and serves the coffee, right? That's not how it's meant to be, right? You got to drive that plane of yours, and everybody else has to support you. And not only do you create a great team that way, but you're kind of free to do the rock star stuff that you were born to do.
Yeah, it's very true. And I just recently outsourced Pinterest because I was like, I am not good at this. It's taking up too much of my time. It's a weakness. Yep. And so, I found a reasonable contractor, and I'm like, go ahead. Like, I trust you. You do your thing. Let me know how it goes.
Exactly.
And it's even because I do customer service for a lot of bloggers. Let me know if you ever need help, Susie. And one of my first clients was like, I didn't want to give up that first line of communication, but it's, he was like, they were like, you make our business better. And it's like, you respond better than I would. And so I think that's, it's important that, you have to take that risk. And it's not easy, but it's certainly worth it, I think.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And once you get a good person, you'll never look back, and you'll kick yourself for waiting. A friend of mine hired her first assistant maybe 6 months ago, and she's like, why didn't I do this 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Best decision.
Why do you think most people fail to grow their businesses, and what advice would you offer them to keep pushing despite all the setbacks?
Well, first of all, there's nothing like running your own business. I think it's the greatest privilege that we have in this day and age. It's never been easier. And if you feel called to do it, then it's possible for you. It's really possible for anyone who's willing to commit to something. And what was the first part of the question? Sorry, Drew.
Oh, it was, why do you think most people fail to grow their businesses?
Oh, actually, I have a new idea on this. I was just speaking to a friend about it earlier. I think people are afraid to spend money on their business.
Mm,
I
that's very true.
I think they think, oh, my business is there to make money, it's not there to take money. But you really do need to invest in it. You need to invest in people, in software, in ads, if that's the model that you're in. There are things that require upfront costs that are fixed, and you just have to be willing. You just have to be like, yep, that money out skis done, right? And I think that a lot of people are just like so scared. They're really scared to do that. And they think, well, when I have more money, I'll spend. But it works the other way around. When you invest in yourself, in your own learning, in the kind of systems and structures that you need, the people, then I think that's where and look, you're not crazy, because I see it happen in, the extreme sometimes, where people have huge teams and, certainly things that they don't need. But in the beginning, I think that it's important to know that the money's going to come and that you need the support, and to even hire before you maybe even need it, just so you kind of get used to it and you get used to spending the money. Because again, I just think it's a mental block.
Yeah, and the right investments are certainly worth it. Don't spend money for the sake of spending money because you think that's, what you need help with. I mean, I think, it's all about recognizing your needs, and if there's something that can meet that need and save you a lot of time and money in the process, then that's something that you should 100% do.
Yeah.
And I remember when I started, and I'm still doing it now, is that I began freelancing. And that was something that allowed me to have money to funnel into my blog to use for the business. And
Yes.
so, if you don't have that cash flow up front, or you're struggling, consider taking up a side hustle or doing something, else that will allow you to have some money to spend on your business.
Exactly. I mean, that's certainly what I would do. I mean, when you think about what your hourly rate is for your expertise, and then typically, the work that you outsource, people are getting paid a fraction of what you get, hopefully, it absolutely makes sense to be in your zone of genius, to be doing work that, inspires you, makes you happy and engaged, put yourself out there. I always say, marketing is manifesting. It's the same thing. And to let other people who are better than you at the things that you're not good at, allow them to support you.
Yeah. How important has niching down been, no matter how hard it hurts, to your business's growth and profitability?
I think I'm still learning about this, actually. When it comes to niching, because I speak a lot about confidence in my work, I know this is a universal problem, a general lack of it, and self-doubt kind of leading the show. And when it comes to publicity, really any entrepreneur can use it. If you're a human being doing business with other human beings, then publicity is going to be helpful for you. So I feel as if niching is something that I'm still learning, but I'm open. I'm open to getting better at it.
And I think it's something that, whether you realize it or not, like I realize it, from like a student perspective, because I look at, your course, 5 Minutes to Famous, and it's all about, the PR approach of guest posting, as opposed to something like the SEO benefits, or, figuring out like how to grow your domain authority through guest posting. Like that's not the specific angle.
Right.
You focus more on the publicity, so that's, an example of niching down a course for the sake of, an audience. And, I'm sure it works very well, with your Facebook ads. And that's how I came on to you, was, through an ad. So I'm sure, you definitely have niche down, at least in offerings, and maybe not audience.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate that. And yes, look, I can just teach what I know. I can just teach what I know, that works, the system that I know works. And so, yes, I appreciate that, Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To scale, you really need to have a systemized business. What steps have you taken to build those systems, and how do you optimize them?
Oh my gosh, I love this question, because systemization, etc., is not like it's not music to my ears. but But my business coach, he says that making money is boring and making a lot of money is really boring. And what he means by that is it's this boring behind the scenes stuff, right? It's not like going out to parties and, you know, being glamorous. That's fun too, and you can make great connections. But it's having landing pages, funnels that work, links that are always working, having upsells, always, you know, managing your audience targeting, being strategic about media placements that you're getting, understanding audience sizes of places that you're writing for, always kind of optimizing and tweaking different landing pages, different copy. It's this stuff. I mean, always looking at your numbers, looking at open rates, click-through rates. It is this boring, this boring behind the scenes stuff. It's totally thankless. No one sees you doing it. You sometimes, I feel like sometimes I'm growing old looking at my Entreport numbers. Like life is passing me by as I look at this software, but it's the stuff that works. And you test different subject lines, for example. One gets a way higher open rate. A higher open rate is it's not just sales conversions, right? Every single step of the process of someone finding out about you is a conversion. Clicking again, opening another email, seeing a sales page. All these things are mini conversions. So if you're always on top of it and you kind of look at your numbers week to week, month to month, then that's just how you keep optimizing, because you see what's working, what's not. You might want to split test different landing pages, different sales pages. In fact, we have a couple of different sales pages. One's a lot newer and glossier, and we found that the older sales page was performing better. So we switched back, even though we spent money on this sales page and it's got, a lot more bells and whistles. We switched back because the older sales page somehow was just converting better. Like, we don't know why. So being in the numbers, not running away from them, not putting your head in the sand. And then ideally, there's somebody on your team who can help you understand them. So I'm lucky that my husband works with me as my COO, and he's very good at this stuff. But still, I mean, you need to be aware of it, and you kind of want to always understand what's working, what's not. So you can double down on what's going to make you more money.
Yes, Heath is amazing. And it's something that's like, I always tell people, like, you have to know your numbers. Like, if you've ever watched, like an episode of Shark Tank, that's like the first question they ask you, is because it's so vital, to a business, is that you need to understand how it's performing. You need to understand, what's happening behind the scenes. And
Yes.
so before you hire someone, to manage that, you really need to put the effort into understand how your business operates. And then it becomes easier to outsource.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you that sometimes it makes Heath crazy, Drew. Well, just say we'll be out with friends, right? And people ask about our funnels and so forth. And if someone's like, yeah, my funnel isn't working, my Facebook ads manager isn't working, Heath's like, well, what are your numbers? And they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like they'll immediately blame a team member. Whereas maybe, the ads are great, but at some point they drop off, like the webinar conversion isn't great, right? So knowing your numbers, I mean, you don't have to memorize them daily, but having one of my friends who is very good at launches and so forth, every time I speak to her anything, she's like, what are your numbers? What are your numbers this week? What are your numbers? So Drew, I'm right there with you. I shocked.
I love that you can talk to your friends about funnels and they understand what you're saying. I think that's so...
We're such geeks.
And this is our last question here.
Oh, I'm having fun.
Well, I can always, ask more questions. If you could speak face to face with yourself when you first started your business, what pearls of wisdom would you impart?
Oh my gosh, Drew, I love this question because I was just speaking to a friend of mine who, it was her birthday and she journals always on her birthday. And one of the questions she asked herself is, what would 5 years from now me tell me now?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always great to kind of look back and see, right, what we tell ourselves. Yeah. And my business, I'd say, is around 5 years old because that's when I started guest posting, and that's when I was side hustling then, right? So, but that's when it kind of started to really take off for me. So this is what I would say. I would say there is nothing to be afraid of, right? Number one, expect disappointments, part of the deal. You have nothing to prove. Right? Do this, like, meaning don't do it to impress anyone. Don't do it for the accolades. Do it because it's what drives you. And don't be afraid to really be seen and to go big. I mean, I know publicity is a huge part of my business growth, but I feel like I'm always still getting more and more confident with it. And if I had the confidence now that I if I had the confidence then that I did now, I think I would have had even more growth spurts early. I just kind of thought each time, oh, is this okay? Like, is it okay that this, keeps happening? And, I don't really have my formal qualifications. Is this okay? So if I could just say there is nothing to be afraid of, there's nothing to prove, just like go big with what you know and just be like driven from your heart, then that is what I would say. And I'd say don't be afraid to spend money in the beginning. Like, have it, spend it, go all in. The people who I see succeed, pretty quickly are those who commit and they're not afraid to take a few risks.
Yeah, I love that answer. And especially, with going big, even if you don't have those credentials. And I remember when I started freelancing and accepting that first customer service job, it was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I started, responding to Haro queries, and I started getting featured in places as like a freelancing expert. And I remember that first feeling, and it's like, oh, well, I mean, like, I guess I'm considered an expert now. Like, I guess, it legitimizes that.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember even like this year, in your business, I've been watching you, and you hosted, Pitch Please in New York with Farnoosh. And that was like a big, I'm assuming that was a big step for you because it was a live in-person event, and most online entrepreneurs stay away from that like the plague.
I know.
So what was that process like?
Oh, I'm happy you asked this because, look, I'm very happy being online and, connecting via Zoom and so forth and doing group stuff. But in person, I mean, look, we're all humans, right? At the end of it all. I know, human connection is a basic need that we all have. And, seeing people who I've helped, in people whose faces I've never seen, seeing them in person, hugging them, showing what I know live and direct, bringing editors and producers that Farnoosh and I've known for years, like connecting great entrepreneurs with missions and amazing messages to people who have the complete power to give those people a microphone, like meeting the gatekeepers. It just feels really important and it feels alive. And I mean, just the fact that we're going to have our third event in October and people are coming back for the third time, a really good chunk of people. So I know there's power in it. I think that, when it comes to live events, it's not about the host, right? The host can do their best, but the people meeting each other, the guests, the friendships that are formed, there's so much magic in it. And when I look back, when I was getting started, live events were a huge game changer for me. I started really understanding what this whole world meant. I have friends still now who are in my life because I met them at live events, and it just kind of made it real. And that's another thing. I think people are afraid to invest the money. And look, I understand that events vary very much in pricing, from like $200 to like $10,000. Like, it really, really varies. But I think that it's really important to do some in-person stuff because being a business owner is isolating. People don't understand you most of the time. And if you kind of go and get around the people who do, and the people who, a lot of them often will be doing a lot better than you too, they'll be further ahead. You will your disbelief will be suspended. You'll see what's happening. And I feel like the payoff is so much more than you think. You think you're going for one thing, but you leave with a whole host of other things too.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm going to my first in-person event in September, actually.
Fantastic.
I'm like super excited about. I get to meet all these people that I've been Facebook messaging creepily for like the last, year and a half.
You will love it. You will die. And I mean, look, the conferences are always great. Like I typically love most of the content wherever I go, but it's also like, the breaks, the lunches, the drinks, like it's when you meet, it's how you make friends, like friends who get you. And I think that that's an extremely precious thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Susie. I really appreciated what you had to say.
Drew, you're the friggin' best. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun and I love your questions.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Take it easy. Wonderful speaking to you.
Thank you, Susie.
I'll speak to you very soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.